Salvete omnes, welcome to this video lesson on section 14 of Fabulae Faciles, the music lesson. Music in Latin, musica. Hercules, as you may well know, seemed to be pretty good at everything. According to one myth, he created the first Olympic Games and he won all of the contests, right? He's good at everything. Music is the one thing he's not good at, okay? And here we have the story about him and his music teacher Linus. Hercules, apuro. Hercules, from a boy. Now, we would say from boyhood or since he was a boy or something like that. Corpus suum diligenter exercebat. Exercised or trained, exercebat, his body, corpus suum, carefully, diligently, diligenter. Magnam partem diei in palaestra consumebat. He spent, consumebat, the great part of the day, magnum partem diei, in the palaestra. Now, palaestra is open air, sort of sports field, exercise field. You could do wrestling there, boxing there. You could play various ball games that the ancient Romans and Greeks had. But this was often part of a gymnasium in Greek. Some Roman public bath complexes were big enough to have one of these too. So it's an outdoor sports practice field. So he spent the great part of his day in palaestra. Didicit etiam. Didicit est tempus perfectum, perfect tense. Ex verbo disco, the verb disco, discere, didici. I learn, to learn, I have learned. All right? Didicit etiam. He also learned arcum intendere, to draw the bow. Intendere here sort of means to pull it and hold it tense, right? That's the tendere root in there. Et tela conicere, and to shoot arrows. Now, conicere is a simple compound of yakio, yakere, to shoot or to throw. Tela, the word telum can mean tool or weapon of any sort, but here in this context, obviously we mean arrows that you shoot with a bow. His exercitationibus, long word, his exercitationibus, by means of these practices, these exercises, okay, ablative of means there, vires eius, his strength, confirmatae sunt, was affirmed, was made solid, right? Confirmatae sunt. Perfect passive, 2 words. In musica etiam, in music also, alino cintaro erudiebatur. He was nurtured, he was educated, erudiebatur. The etymology of this is that he was sort of taken out of being rudis, right? If you are rudis, you are uncultivated, uneducated, uncivilized, right? So he was, in music, he was also educated a lino cintaro by Linus the centaur. Now, in some versions of the story, Linus is not a centaur. He's just sort of a normal human. Centauri autem, centaurs, however, equi errant, were horses. Sed caput hominis habebant, but they had the head of a man, right? And often the upper body too, but at least the head, right? And let's see, often... I think I mentioned that Linus in some stories is not a centaur, he's a human, but perhaps there's a little bit of bleed over from the common teacher of Hercules, who taught him a lot of things, including shooting the bow, which was mentioned above, and that is Chiron the centaur. Centaur Chiron taught not only Hercules how to be a hero, how to shoot the bow and all of that, but also Jason and Achilles, a number of other heroes as well. All right. Huic tamen arti minus diligenter studebat. Nevertheless, tamen, he studied, studebat, this art, huic arti, and that's in the dative there because studio studere always takes the dative case, not the accusative for its object. Nevertheless, he studied this art minus diligenter, less diligently, less carefully, right? He wasn't as into it as all of the athletic stuff, right? Now, I should state here, studio studere, basic sense of this root is about eagerness or enthusiasm, right? Studium can be a study, but it can also just be interest, enthusiasm, eagerness, right? Studio studere, he was eager, all right? So if I do it that way, nevertheless, he was less diligently eager for this art, so he wasn't as into it, right? Hic Linus, here Linus. Herculem olim, or actually, probably just this Linus rather than here Linus. So this Linus, Herculem olim obiugabat, once criticized or scolded Hercules. Obiugabat. If you don't know obiugare, you might know calumniare, vituperare, accusare, or reprehendere, something like that for scolding, criticizing. Quod non studiosus erat. So the quod clause tells us why he was scolding him, because he was not studious. Now again, the root of this studi here in Latin is about eagerness or enthusiasm. So because he wasn't too into it, right? He wasn't paying the proper attention or showing the proper interest in the subject. But you can just go with studious too, because he was not studious. Tum per iratus, then the angry boy, and of course this is Hercules, Citeram subito rapuit, suddenly, subito, snatched the kithera. Now, kithera is a type of instrument kind of like a lyre or a harp. I believe the word kithera is related to the word guitar in English, although they're not the same thing. Et omnibus viribus caput magistri infelicis percussit, and with all of his strength, omnibus viribus, ablative of means or instrument, he struck, or you could also say ablative of manner for that. Sometimes you can go either way on those. With all of his strength, he struck, percussit, the head of the unlucky teacher, caput magistri infelicis. Why is he unlucky? Well, because teenage Hercules just smashed his head, so guess what's going to happen to him? Ille icto prostratus est. He, ille, was laid forth, that is, knocked forward, prostratus est, by the blow, ictu. That's an ablative there too, ablative of means. Et Paulo post, and a little bit later, e vita excessit, he departed from life. Okay, so he didn't last very long after this blow. Neque quisquam postea, nor did anyone afterwards, id officium suscipere voluit, to take up or to undertake, suscipere, that duty, id officium. Yeah, once he kills one music teacher, nobody wants to teach Hercules music again. Clearly he's not into it, and you don't want to die. So this is one of these stories about Hercules losing his temper, kind of freaking out and having a violent fit, right? There are many of these throughout the myth of Hercules, of course. Juno supposedly makes him go crazy and kill his first wife and children there. He kills another man named Iphitus, who is a guest friend of his at one point later on in his life. So there are numerous times where he just sort of loses it and goes crazy and kills somebody, right? So this is, I think, the earliest, chronologically speaking, where that happens. All right, well, I hope you learned a few things here, maybe some vocab, maybe some grammar, or at least got reinforced with something that you already knew. Valeta omnes usque ad proximum tempus.